Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we are taking a look at Warhammer, Blood in the Badlands.
Oh, right.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
So Blood in the Badlands, it's a campaign supplement for Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
Right. Yes, that's right.
So that means it's not like a standalone army book or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a set of rules and scenarios for a whole campaign.
Exactly. And it really focuses on the setting of the Badlands.
And what a setting it is, right? I mean,
It's fantastic.
it's just this desolate region stretching from the Dragonback Mountains all the way to the volcanic Dragontooth Mountains.
A lot of mountains in the Badlands.
A lot of mountains indeed, and just, remnants of lost civilizations, warring factions, all crammed into this.
Yeah, it's a very claustrophobic
Yeah.
campaign setting in a lot of ways.
And then, to top it all off, they throw in this magically powered castle called Fosric's Flying Fortress.
Yeah. And it descends from the sky, adding yet another layer of chaos to this already chaotic region.
So where does this flying fortress come from? Is it just like a random floating castle, or is there some kind of lore behind it?
Oh, there's definitely a deeper lore behind it. And the campaign actually ties its return to astrological omens.
So it's not just some random occurrence, it's like a cyclical event.
Exactly. It happens in cycles, drawing armies and adventurers to the Badlands, hoping to claim the fortress and its power.
That's so cool. So tell me more about this Fosric character. Who was he, and why is his fortress such a big deal?
Fosric was this ancient wizard with immense power. He could actually manipulate the fabric of reality itself.
Whoa, okay, so we're talking serious magical power here.
Yeah, serious magical power. And he used that power to create the fortress by literally folding reality, imbuing it with magic, and giving it this constantly shifting structure.
A constantly shifting structure.
Yeah.
So it's not like a normal castle.
No, it's not like a normal castle at all. It's constantly changing, making it even more difficult to conquer.
And I'm guessing this fortress has some kind of special powers.
Legend has it that controlling the fortress grants immense power, but Fosric's magic is unpredictable and potentially dangerous.
Okay, so it's not just about conquering the fortress, it's about harnessing its power. And that sounds like a risky proposition.
Very risky, and that's why so many factions are vying for control of it, each with their own motivations and ambitions.
So who are the main players in this power struggle? Give us a rundown of the factions involved.
All right, well, we've got the usual suspects, orcs and goblins. They're always looking for plunder and a good fight.
Of course, can't have Warhammer without them.
Exactly. Then you have the dwarfs. They're trying to defend their ancestral holds from all these threats.
The ever-stoic dwarfs, always ready to stand their ground.
Exactly. And then there's the Empire trying to maintain order in this chaotic region.
Someone's got to try, right?
Good luck to them. And of course, we can't forget the vampire counts, always looking to expand their domain.
Spooky.
And lurking in the shadows, we have the Skaven with their insidious plots and schemes.
Oh, the Skaven, never a dull moment with them around.
And then we have the Chaos Warriors, well, being their usual chaotic selves, spreading discord and destruction wherever they go.
It's like a who's who of Warhammer fantasy factions, all thrown together in this one crazy campaign.
That's a good way to put it.
So we've got all these factions with their own goals and ambitions clashing in this desolate landscape, but where do they actually fight? What are some of the key locations in this campaign, and how do they factor into the game?
Well, the campaign map features several strategically important locations. For example, Barakvar.
Barakvar, okay.
Yeah, the most cosmopolitan of the dwarf holds.
I can just imagine it.
Yeah, it's carved into these sheer cliffs, and it serves as a major trading hub for the dwarfs.
So it's not just about military strength, it's also about controlling resources and trade routes.
Absolutely, and that makes Barakvar a prime target for anyone who wants to cripple the dwarfs.
I bet those seaward trade routes are particularly vulnerable.
Oh yeah, definitely a key point of contention.
So what other locations should we keep an eye on?
Well, there's Mount Bloodhorn. It's an abandoned dwarf hold, now overrun by orcs and goblins. And rumor has it that there are hidden treasures within its depths.
Hidden treasures.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want a piece of that?
Exactly. It's a tempting target, but you'd have to fight through hordes of greenskins to get to it.
That sounds like a challenge and a half, but I'm sure some players would be up for
Oh,
it.
absolutely. And then you have the Black Gulf.
The Black Gulf now, that sounds ominous.
It's a body of water with unpredictable tides and whispers of sunken treasures.
Sunken treasures. Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's a high-risk, high-reward kind of place, perfect for players who like to gamble.
And probably full of pirates and other nasty surprises.
Oh, you can bet on it.
I'm starting to get a sense of just how dangerous and unpredictable this region is, and we haven't even talked about the giants yet.
Ah, yes. the giant stomping grounds.
Yeah, that sounds like a place you'd want to avoid at all costs.
Unless you have a very good reason to be there and a very good plan.
And an army of giant slayers, perhaps.
Yeah.
So what about the Marshes of Madness? I've heard whispers about this place, but I don't know much about it.
It's a region shrouded in mystery and danger, even more so than the rest of the Badlands.
What makes it so dangerous?
Well, for starters, it's home to the Strigoi.
The Strigoi. Who are they?
They're a particularly fearsome type of vampire, known for their savagery and their connection to the land itself.
Okay, yeah, that's not good. And the marshes themselves, are they dangerous too?
Oh, absolutely. They're said to be filled with mystical power, a kind of power that can warp the minds of those who dwell there for too long.
So it's like a psychological horror element on top of all the other dangers.
Exactly. It's a place that can break even the strongest of wills.
Okay, so we've got these incredible locations, each with its own unique challenges and opportunities. But how does the game actually work? How do players move their armies, capture territory, and interact with each other in this campaign?
Well, it's a bit more complex than a standard Warhammer battle. There are a lot of moving parts, but that's what makes it so interesting.
I'm ready to dive into the mechanics of it all and see how this campaign really comes to life. But we'll save that for the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned, folks.
We'll be right back.
So we got our map, we got all our players, we got all these like potential hotspots for conflict. But how does this all translate into an actual game? What's different about like Blood in the Badlands compared to just a regular Warhammer battle?
Well, the campaign unfolds over a year, divided into seasons, and during each season, players move their armies, capture territory, and engage in battles, earning victory points along the way. But there's a twist: random events.
Random events. Okay, I
Yeah.
like where this is good. Give me an example. Like, how do these events actually shake things up in the Badlands?
Well, for example, let's say you draw the embattled event card.
Okay.
This card could force a player to remove one of their armies from play until the next season,
Oh, wow. Okay.
representing, a sudden setback or an unexpected loss.
Yeah, that could be devastating, especially if you're like right in the middle of some big offensive.
Exactly, but it adds an element of, realism, right? I mean, wars are full of unexpected twists and turns.
True. So what other kind of events are we talking about here?
Well, there's another one called Seize the Crown,
Okay.
and this allows a player to take control of an enemy city,
Oh, wow.
potentially changing the course of the campaign with a single stroke of luck.
Talk about a power shift. So these random events, it sounds like they add a layer of unpredictability and make things really interesting.
Absolutely, it keeps players on their toes, and it also makes alliances all the more important.
Because you might need to team up with somebody to survive one of these bad events, right?
Exactly, or to capitalize on a sudden opportunity. But of course, those alliances can be just as fickle as the events themselves.
Right. So speaking of alliances, I'm curious about the different armies players can choose from. We talked about the factions in general, but what are some of the unique units or strategies that each army brings to the table?
Well, each army has its own strengths and weaknesses, reflecting their lore and playstyle from the main game, like the Empire, for example. Okay.
They rely on disciplined infantry, powerful artillery, sturdy war machines. They're a solid all-around force, but they can be a bit slow and inflexible.
Yeah, I can see that. Whereas the High Elves, on the other hand, they're all about speed and agility, right?
Exactly. They can strike quickly and decisively with their archers and their fast-moving cavalry, but they're not as durable as some of the other factions.
Makes sense. So you got to play to their strengths, and you got the Orcs and Goblins.
Ah, yes, the Green Tide.
They're just a chaotic horde of,
Overwhelming numbers and brute force.
Exactly. And how do you even control that?
Well, that's the challenge, right? They can be unpredictable and difficult to control, but when they get momentum, they're a force to be reckoned with.
I can imagine. And then you got the Dwarfs.
The Dwarves, yes, they're all about stubborn defense and heavy firepower.
Yeah, makes sense.
They can hold a position against overwhelming odds, but they're not known for their speed or tactical flexibility.
They gotta dig in and hold the line with the Dwarves. Exactly. And then you have the more, sinister factions like the Vampire Counts
Okay.
with their legions of undead warriors, and the Skaven with their hordes of disease-ridden rat men.
Delightful.
They each have their own unique units and strategies, from summoning hordes of zombies to unleashing plagues upon their enemies.
It's amazing how they manage to capture the essence of each faction, and give players so many options to choose from.
It really is.
But it's not just about the armies themselves, right? There are also these powerful magical artifacts that players can find.
Ah, yes, the relics.
The relics, tell me more about these.
Well, they represent objects of immense power imbued with magic or historical significance.
So, like, what kind of things are we talking about here?
It could be anything from enchanted weapons and armor to ancient banners that grant special abilities to units.
Okay, so finding one of these relics could be a real game changer.
Absolutely.
Give me an example. Like, what's a cool relic that players might find?
Well, imagine finding the banner of Mount Bloodhorn. This ancient dwarfen banner not only grants a combat bonus to the unit carrying it, but it also inspires nearby allies, making them fight with even greater ferocity.
So it's like a morale booster and a combat enhancer all in one.
Exactly. It could turn the tide of a crucial battle, especially if you're facing a numerically superior foe.
I can see why everyone would be, after these relics, they add a whole other layer of strategy and intrigue to the campaign.
Definitely.
But let's talk about another key aspect of Blood in the Badlands, siege warfare.
Ah,
With Fosrick's flying fortress being such a tempting prize, I imagine sieges play a big role in this campaign.
absolutely. And the supplement goes into detail about the challenges and tactical options for both attackers and defenders.
So it's not just about brute force, there's actual strategy involved.
Exactly.
So what kind of tools and tactics can players use in a siege?
Well, attackers can utilize siege towers to scale walls, battering rams to break down gates, and even specialized units like sappers to undermine the enemy's fortification. They can also employ artillery to bombard the defenders and weaken their defenses before launching a full-scale assault.
So there's a lot of options for the attackers, but what about the defenders? They're not just sitting ducks, are they?
Not at all. They can use boiling oil to scald attackers trying to climb the walls. They can rain down arrows and other projectiles. They can even use magic to disrupt the enemy's siege engines.
Okay, so they got some tricks up their sleeves.
Oh yeah, they can also build fortifications, set traps, make use of the terrain to their advantage.
It sounds like these sieges would be incredibly tense and dramatic.
Oh, they are. They're some of the most exciting moments in the campaign.
I can imagine all the back and forth as both sides try to outmaneuver each other, but it's not all about sieges, right?
Yeah.
The campaign features other scenarios and events that add variety and excitement.
Absolutely. There are scenarios that focus on capturing key locations, rescuing prisoners, recovering lost artifacts, even navigating treacherous terrain.
So it's not just about conquering territory. There are other goals and motivations that drive the narrative of the campaign.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so replayable. Each campaign will be unique, shaped by the choices of the players, the random events that occur, and the alliances that are forged and broken along the way.
I'm really liking what I'm hearing here. It sounds like they really thought of everything to make this campaign a truly immersive experience.
Yeah.
But we've only scratched the surface so far. There's still so much more to explore.
There is.
All right, so we talked about the setting, the factions, the unique mechanics of Blood in the Badlands, but I'm really curious to see how all this plays out, like in an actual campaign.
Right.
The supplement includes a chronicle, right? Like a record of a real game that was played using these rules.
Yeah, yeah. And it's more than just, like a dry account of the moves and dice roll.
Okay.
It really brings the campaign to life. You can see the players' personalities, coming through in their decisions. You see those dramatic twists of fate that just, throw everything off track.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got those epic battles that decide, who controls the Badlands.
So it's like a story within a story.
Exactly.
You're getting a glimpse into like a specific instance of this campaign actually playing out with all the drama and intrigue.
Right, and it's a great way to see how all these different elements, like, the factions, the locations, the random events, the relics, how they all come together to create a unique narrative.
All right, I'm sold. Let's dive into this chronicle. Give me some highlights.
Sure.
What were some of the big moments or turning points that really shaped how this particular campaign played out?
Well, early on, we see the High Elves and Dwarfs forming that unusual alliance we talked about.
Right.
And they actually dominate the central region of the Badlands. For a while, they managed to keep the vampire counts in check. They secure some valuable resources, but their alliance was kind of shaky from the start, and eventually their ambitions clash, and it all falls apart.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, it wouldn't be Warhammer without a little bit of backstabbing and betrayal. What exactly caused their alliance to collapse?
Well, the Chronicle highlights this big dispute over a mining outpost. A strategically important one, both the High Elves and the Dwarfs saw it as crucial to their war effort, and neither side was willing to back down.
Oh, so it was like a head-to-head conflict over resources.
Exactly. And the Skaven, never missing an opportunity, they exploited this tension, and they actually played a big role in breaking up the alliance.
The Skaven always scheming in the background. How did they manage to pull that off?
Well, they used a combination of sabotage, espionage, propaganda, Classic Skaven tactics.
Yeah.
Sowing discord between the High Elves and the Dwarfs, weakening both factions and creating an opening for themselves.
It's a good reminder that in Blood in the Badlands, it's not just about military. Sometimes cunning and diplomacy can be just as effective, especially when you're dealing with those volatile alliances.
Absolutely. And speaking of volatile, we can't forget about the Chaos Warriors.
Oh yeah, the Chaos Warriors, they're always a wild card. What role did they play in all of this?
Well, they remained unpredictable throughout the campaign, launching these surprise attacks that really disrupted everyone's plans.
Did any of the other factions try to ally with them, or were they just too unpredictable to trust?
There were a few attempts, some born out of desperation more than anything.
Right.
The Chronicle mentions this brief, uneasy pact between the Vampire Counts and the Chaos Warriors, but it predictably fell apart due to their conflicting goals and mutual distrust.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but only for so long, right?
Exactly. In the end, everyone was really just looking out for themselves.
That's Warhammer for you. So I know you're dying to tell me who ultimately claimed Fosric's flying fortress. But before we get there, I want to hear about those siege battles. Did they live up to the hype?
Oh, absolutely. The Chronicle describes them in vivid detail. You can really feel the tension and the drama, the scale of these confrontations.
Give me a taste, like what were some of the standout moments?
Well, you've got sappers tunneling beneath walls, siege towers swarming with attackers, boiling oil raining down from the battlements.
It's like something out of a movie.
And of course, magic plays a huge role in these battles, Wizards unleashing devastating spells, sorcerers summoning demons to defend their walls, attempts to disrupt enemy magic. It's all there.
So it's not just about the physical clash. It's about this magical struggle as well.
Exactly. It really captures the essence of Warhammer warfare.
Okay, enough teasing. Tell us who ultimately came out on top in this epic struggle for the Badlands.
Well, the climax of the campaign takes place on and around Fosric's flying fortress itself.
Oh, wow. So it all comes down to this.
Yeah, armies clashing amidst, swirling clouds and floating rocks, magic bolts flying through the air, heroes performing feats of valor. It's an epic showdown.
It sounds absolutely incredible. I can just picture the scene.
But as the fighting reaches its peak, something unexpected happens. A vortex of raw magical energy erupts within the fortress.
Wait, so the battle itself triggered some kind of magical cataclysm?
It seems so. The Chronicle suggests that the sheer concentration of magical energy combined with the residual magic of Fosric himself created this massive feedback loop.
So they basically overloaded the magical circuits of the fortress.
You could say that, and this vortex, it rages for hours, disrupting formations, scattering armies, even stripping some wizards of their powers.
It's like the battle itself became a victim of its own intensity.
Exactly. It's a reminder that magic in Warhammer is a powerful force, but it can also be incredibly unpredictable and dangerous.
So what happened after the vortex subsided? Who was left standing? What became of the flying fortress?
Well, the aftermath was kind of anticlimactic. The flying fortress, battered but still intact, it drifted away, aimlessly lost in the clouds. The various factions, their armies depleted their plans in ruins. They retreated from the scene, licking their wounds and regrouping.
So there was no clear victor. No one claimed the ultimate prize.
Not this time. The Chronicle ends with the fate of the flying fortress uncertain, a tantalizing mystery that invites speculation and sets the stage for future campaigns.
Wow, what an ending. It's a good reminder that even in Warhammer, the best laid plans can go awry, and sometimes fate has other ideas.
Absolutely, and that's part of what makes Blood in the Badlands such a compelling campaign. It's not just about winning or losing, it's about the journey, the stories that emerge along the way, those unforgettable moments of, heroism, betrayal, and just chaotic fun.
Well said. I think this has been an incredible deep dive. I've learned so much about this campaign. But as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. If you were leading an army into the Badlands, which faction would you choose, and what would your strategy be to try and claim Fosric's flying fortress?
It's a question that sparks the imagination, right? Would you rely on brute force or cunning tactics, or maybe a little bit of both? Would you forge alliances or go it alone? The possibilities are endless, and that's the beauty of Warhammer.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us. And until next time, may your dice rolls be ever in your favor.